Hi, everybody. Welcome back to the Last Word Sports. I'm here with Scotty and Charlie. Let's go. Today we're going to be doing our first round NFL mock draft. The way we're going to be doing it is we're all going to be acting as the GMs and switching off every pick. So I will be going first. So I will be the GM for the Bengals. Scotty will be the Redskins, and Chuck will be the Lions. And then we will continue in that order.
Why do I get the last pick?
Chuck, if you want, you can be the Redskins.
If you want, you can be the Redskins.
I'm the Redskins.
Okay, you can.
Look, Chuck,
then you can be the Redskins.
Chuck, I was just gonna trade down for a 7th round pick as the Skins, anyways, just so they stuck for the next 10 years. So I think it's better if you pick for the Skins.
Okay.
All right.
The Skins don't know what they're doing, and neither do I. So.
That's fair. That's fair.
Okay.
All right.
So
Let's begin.
y'all should be able to see my screen right now.
Mhm.
And Fletcher, you have the first pick.
All right. I'm on the clock as the Bengals. I'm sure this is going to come as a surprise to absolutely nobody, but with the first overall pick as the Cincinnati Bengals, I will be taking the quarterback from LSU, Joe Burrow, Stone Cold Joe. Going to come out, break Peyton Manning's rookie interception record. But then he's also going to throw for 40 touchdowns on top of it.
Okay.
Yep. Good pick.
Great.
Yep.
In fact, one I would have done myself, Fletcher.
I'm sure everybody's going to be picking Joe Burrow.
And with the second pick, should also come as no surprise, Chase Young from Ohio State to the Redskins.
Fantastic edge rusher.
Absolutely.
Best edge rusher we've seen in a while.
Agreed.
All right.
Scotty.
Lions are on the clock. What are you doing, Scotty?
Number 3 for the Lions. I considered going quarterback here, just kind of rebuilding, maybe taking Tua. But I think the injury problems, are a little concerning for Tua, so I'm going to wait on him. I don't think Herbert's good enough to go top 3. And the other thing is, Matt Patricia, the coach of the Lions, I think this is his last year if they don't turn it around. The past 2 years have been ugly. They haven't won very many games, and he had that big public fallout with Darius Slay. They had to trade him to Philly, so they're lacking a number 1 corner. Therefore, I'm going to go with Jeff Okudah, the corner from Ohio State. True lockdown. Ohio State's been fantastic at producing defensive backs these past couple of years. Over all, I think, 13, 14 of his games, because include Big Ten championship and college football playoffs. Okudah didn't have a single pass interference penalty. He's disciplined. He's fast. He's a aggressive, hard-hitting corner, and he's explosive. So he's rangy. He makes great plays off the ball, and he's just a lockdown corner. And I think that's what Detroit needs, especially since Matt Patricia has to win some games this year if he wants to keep his job. So at number 3, Lions, I'm taking Okudah.
Should have never left the path from Matt Patricia.
One more thing on Okudah, he's also very efficient. He had no pass interferences and no holdings called on him in his last year at Ohio State. So that's another thing to look at, is that he's not going to throw the game with penalties. He's also pretty level-headed, and he doesn't make those boneheaded decisions. So Jeff Okudah is a really good pick for both on and off the field.
Mm-hmm.
But now I'm on the clock with the Giants, and when you're picking for the Giants, you really have to consider an O-line, considering that was by far and away their offense's biggest struggle. But a struggle even bigger than the offense in New York is the entirety of their defense could just be renovated. So when looking at the best defender on the board right now, to me, the most valuable and the most talented one is Isaiah Simmons. Production was off the chart for him at Clemson. He was all over the field. He's extremely fast, sideline to sideline linebacker. He can make plays up and down the field. He'll be everywhere. And this is really good for the Giants because they just needed someone who's willing to get down and take a hit, dish a hit, and make the plays. He's going to be racking up a lot of tackles. I could see him potentially even breaking the rookie tackle record. That's how good of an athlete and how good of a linebacker he was at Clemson. Well, he wasn't even just a linebacker. at Clemson. He was a very versatile player. He can play safety, but they're going to have him at linebacker in the Giants defense.
You talk about versatility, Fletch. I think Isaiah Simmons was the only player in Pro Football Focus to grade higher than 80 in all of pass coverage, run stopping, or man coverage, zone coverage, run stopping, and edge rushing. So he's super versatile. He can do it all. He's 6'4", 240, and I think he ran like a 4.4 40-yard dash. So he's everything you want in a linebacker.
Yeah.
Okay, number 5 for the Miami Dolphins, drafting our quarterback for the future most likely, and it's between Tua Tagovailoa and Herbert. But in my opinion, I think the Dolphins would go with Tua.
I'm with you.
Yeah.
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 I mean, the thing with Tua is a lot of people have been saying he could fall in the first round, maybe even, out of the first round because of his injury history. I think he had like 5 surgeries at Alabama. The hip surgery was nearly career-threatening. And so those are some big issues. He's not the most durable guy. He's only like 6 foot, 6'1". But the thing about Tua is his accuracy, and it's just phenomenal. His poise. Like, people mention, he was kind of out of it in that SEC championship game against Georgia where Jalen Hurts came in and saved him. But what about the national championship game where he came in as like a freshman or a sophomore in the second half of that game, threw 3 touchdown passes in the second half in overtime, led Alabama to a come-from-behind victory. This kid is incredibly accurate. His arm is perfect. Yeah, I mean, it's not the strongest, but I think there's a real chasm between him and Herbert. And if the Dolphins want their quarterback of the future, I think you can have Ryan Fitzpatrick sit in front of him for a year. So I like the pick, Chuck.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
I agree.
I am nuts in NFL GM.
Yeah, I agree wholeheartedly. I think that Tua is going to be the pick there for the Dolphins if they don't make any sort of a move or a trade or anything. I think they're going to be taking Tua just because the amount of upside and how proficient of a passer he was over his entire career. He's the highest rated passer over his career that college football has ever seen.
Yeah.
That's an immense achievement, and it can't go unnoticed. Yeah, he's got injury concerns, but I think if you're the Dolphins, you have to take a chance. You're getting a premier talent in Tua Tagovailoa, and he can't be ignored.
All right, Scotty, number 6.
Number 6, I'm on the clock for the Chargers. Now, they do have a couple needs on the offensive line, maybe inside linebacker, but I'm actually going Justin Herbert, the quarterback from Oregon. I think he could fall further than this. I don't necessarily love him, even though I'm an Oregon fan. I watched him a lot. I don't think he has, like, the it that you see with a guy like Joe Burrow. His touch is a little bit off sometimes. His eyes aren't the greatest. And in the Rose Bowl against Wisconsin, he beat the defense with his legs more so than his arm. But he's athletic, he's versatile, he's big, he's strong, he's got a cannon. And the truth is that he's, to me, a bit more of a developmental project than these other 2 guys, Burrow and Tagovailoa, who are ready to come in, super accurate throw right away. But I think that fits with the Chargers because this is a team who is supremely talented, especially in terms of tight end if Hunter Henry can stay healthy, wide receiver. They've got weapons around him. Austin Eckler is a huge receiving back. Defensively, they're full of talent from Melvin Ingram to Joey Bosa to Derwin James. This team is just loaded. Their general manager has done a fantastic job. I think what they need is just a quarterback. And last year they felt that Phillip Rivers held them back by turning over the ball too much. And the thing is, if they don't think Herbert's ready to play this year, that's totally cool. Tyrod Taylor's there. He's a more than capable bridge quarterback who can start on a team with a ton of talent. So I think they take Herbert, maybe let him sit for a year, and then move forward with him as a franchise guy.
Yeah, I agree. I think when you look at his intangibles, he's got the size, he's got the speed, he's got probably the best arm in the draft. You can argue between him and James Eason.
Yeah, I'd say Herbert.
But I would say Herbert's got a bigger arm than Eason. But I think he's got all of he's got the list checked off.
Got all the physical tools.
Yeah, and so if you get him to his peak, I believe his peak, if he's able to reach it and achieve it, is higher than any quarterback in the draft. However, it's all about getting there. He's still a long ways from it. He's got touch and accuracy issues. He's a project. but I believe that the Chargers do have all the tools to make it happen, which is why I agree with you, Scotty, that the Chargers should take Justin Herbert at number 6.
Cool. Number 7, you're on the clock for Carolina.
All right, I'm on the clock for the Panthers, and I think it's a pretty easy pick to be made here. They need help on their D-line really badly, and you have a very dominant defensive lineman on the board in Derek Brown.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to have the Panthers take Derek Brown here. He was a dominant lineman at Auburn. He made I'm blanking a little bit, but he was a dominant force on the inside of the line. He was making a bunch of tackles for losses. He wreaked havoc whenever he played against Alabama, which is good because you always see Alabama pumping out premier offensive linemen to the NFL. So he's shown that he can be dominant against the highest level of competition that he could play.
Mm-hmm.
And overall, I really like the way he plays. Even in the game against Oregon that we watched, I'm an Oregon fan, so that game was a little heartbreaking. But he was a big force on the defensive line and was a reason why Oregon didn't score that many points that game.
Yeah.
All right. Number 8 to the Cardinals.
Go to you with the Cards.
Kyler needs some help on the offensive line, man. I'll be completely honest with you.
I'm with you. I think this is a good spot to go.
I think it's a good spot to go O-line, and I think Jedrick Wills is my man.
Jedrick Wills from Bama. Good tackle.
Yeah.
Some people are saying he goes as high as number 4 to the Giants, so I think the Cardinals to get 8, good value. They already got D-Hop to get Kyler some weapons, so yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's just all around a really good pick. He's pretty solid at every aspect of the offensive line, so I agree that Jedrick Wills, I could have seen them going with someone like Andrew Thomas too, but I personally would have had Jedrick Wills.
Mm-hmm.
All right, Jacksonville.
All right, Jacksonville.
All right.
I'm kind of torn here because Jacksonville is going crazy. They have, to me, just completely fallen off. Everyone is gone from that team that made it to the AFC Championship game. So just a few years ago, I mean, it feels so close, but it's just their team now is nothing like that. Leonard Fournette's going to be traded too now. They're shopping him. Yannick Ngakoue demands to be traded. This team is completely falling apart. And I don't know really where to go here because they could use a lineman, and like you said, Wills is off the board now, but Wirf, Becton, Andrew Thomas, those are all good prospects too. I think, though, I'm actually going to go with Javon Kinlaw from South Carolina, the defensive lineman. I've heard the Jaguars like him a lot. The thing about Kinlaw is I think he's phenomenal, especially to replace. Their defensive tackles now have kind of fallen off. With Abry Jones, they could replace him, and Yannick Ngakoue is going to be moving out. And so they run a 4-3 scheme. I think Kinlaw could fit right in. He's exceptional physical traits. He's got long arms, and he's a good pass rusher. He's laterally quick to beat blocks, and he can stop the run. So I think Kinlaw's the guy they go with. They could use a running back, but I think it's just too early to take one. And I think D-line is where they go. I don't think there's a corner who's good enough yet to take with a top 9 pick. I mean, maybe C.J. Henderson, but yeah, I just don't love them this early unless they're going to trade back.
Yeah, I see that. That's a solid pick. I had them really going between Kinlaw and C.J. Henderson. I haven't really made a set decision on that yet, but they were really in an awkward spot because I don't think either Kinlaw or C.J. Henderson was quite good enough for the 9th overall pick, but nonetheless, it's the best pick they could have made for their franchise at that spot.
Mm-hmm.
Anyways, now I'm on the clock for the Browns, and I think the move here is that they pick up Tristan Wirfs from Iowa. He's just a really solid offensive tackle. They really need help on the O-line for Baker and Nick Chubb. they still have all the pieces there to be a really good offense. They just need to put it together. They have the talent, they need the offensive line, and they need a coach that can call plays on offense and isn't calling draws on 4th and 9. And I think that you can pick 3 different offensive tackles here and not really go wrong, and they're all a step in the right direction for Cleveland, whether it's Wirfs, Thomas, or Becton.
I'm with you.
I just personally have him going Tristan Wirfs.
All right. So the Jets.
Peter's J-Man, baby. Peter would tell you to dump Sam Darnold and take Jordan Love here, but
I don't want to do Peter wrong. You know, I don't believe in Sam Darnold, but at the same time, I don't think they need to draft QB. You know, Robbie Anderson just left. I don't even know if they still have a Nunwa.
Yeah, he's kind of injured a lot. I think he's still on the roster, but he's not a surefire
you can't
number one
can't
option.
rely on him. You can't rely on him.
My main point is that the Jets need a wide receiver, and I'm going with.
Who are you going with, Chuck?
You cut out, Chuck.
The mystery, the suspense.
The suspense is killing me. Chuck, you there?
Chuck?
Yeah, bro. My connection just went out for a second.
You're all good, dog. We got to listen to my boy Pete.
Was that Peter in the back?
Oh, is Peter yelling again? I missed Peter yelling. God dang it. Okay.
Anyway, Chuck, you cut out right as you were about to announce the pick, dog. It was so suspenseful.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it was like
the suspense
with the number
me.
11 pick, the New York Jets will select, and then you went
I chose CeeDee Lamb.
I like that pick.
I like that pick. It makes me sad for my team, but I like that pick a lot for them.
Hey man, this class has like insane wide receivers, bro. Like,
I know,
I
know, but I have a feeling I know who Scotty's gonna take with the Raiders, and it's like, nah.
Yeah, okay. So here's the thing. For me, this class is super deep in receivers. There's a ton of guys who could go in the first round, but there isn't one guy who's like a Calvin Johnson, AJ Green, Julio Jones type prospect who's like top 5 pick, has to go, incredible talent. These guys are all more of, between picks 11 to 30 for me. And with the 12th pick, I think the Raiders could use a receiver. I don't think they're going to give up on Derek Carr quite yet. And I think if they want, they could always take Jordan Love if it falls to them later in the first round. They have multiple picks. Or they could take, a guy like Jalen Hurts later and maybe the second round, third round as a project. Because Derek Carr's solid and they can always replace him. But, he's good enough for now. And with CeeDee Lamb off the board, I think the top 2 guys left are Jerry Jeudy and Henry Ruggs, the 2 Alabama receivers. For me, Jerry Jeudy is more of a crisp route runner, kind of like a Michael Thomas type. Obviously, I'm not saying he's as good as Michael Thomas. He doesn't have incredible speed, but he has great separation, creating skills, getting in and out of his breaks. CeeDee Lamb's more like a Des Bryant, possession type of guy. Henry Ruggs is like a Tyreek Hill. I think Oakland's going to take Henry Ruggs. He's a speed demon. He ran like a 4.27 40 at the combine. And supposedly that was slow for him. He was very frustrated with that time. This guy, he's got just burst speed. And so I think Oakland, John Gruden's just going to fall in love with this kid and his ability, his big play ability. They want explosiveness. They're moving to Las Vegas. They got to put on a show. I think they're going to take Henry Ruggs.
Imagine being disappointed about running a 4.27.
Right, like he was pissed. He was pissed. He ran 4.27. I was like, okay, man. Whatever you say.
Bud.
What?
All right. Well, that leaves the second best option for the 49ers up at receiver. They're obviously going to be taking a receiver here at 13. And that's the man, Jerry Jeudy. Like Scotty was saying, very crisp route runner, really good at creating separation. He's got all the tools to be a wide receiver 1. And while they already have one similar to that, Deebo Samuel, just imagine the pair of them. You line that up with Jimmy Garoppolo, who had a pretty solid year last year as his first full year starting. I think Jimmy Garoppolo is going to improve. Deebo Samuel's only going to get better, and Jerry Jeudy adds a whole other threat. So
don't want him overthrowing a guy by 20 yards in the Super Bowl again.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, hopefully Henry Ruggs won't get overthrown.
How'd your team do in the wild card round, Chuck?
6 rings.
So wait, how many
And now you're
rings
stuck
did
with your boy, Bill Belichick's boy, Stid. Top
Stid.
prospect from Iowa.
His voice
Bro,
did.
you know it's bad when like we had to go and sign Brian Hoyer, but you know.
Man. Oh man, I can't wait for the Patriots to suck and the
Hey
Niners
man,
to
our
just
defense is gonna win us every single game.
get back on the.
Chuck,
We're
I
gonna
gotta
get
tell
on
you
this
something,
revenge
man.
tour and
Last
take the
year-
Super Bowl.
Back.
Chuck, last year you had Tom Brady, and I don't think the Pats won a game in which their defense allowed more than like 18 points. All right, man.
What?
I don't think your defense is going to carry you with your boy Stid. But we'll see what happens. Maybe you can get a quarterback next year.
Yeah, Trevor Lawrence once we tank this year.
Anyways, Buccaneers are on the clock, right?
Is that
You're
me?
on the clock, Chuck. You're on the
Okay.
clock.
Well, this is interesting because I mean the Buccaneers. I don't know. The Buccaneers are just a weird team for me, bro. Because like they have Tom, and they have these great receivers. Their offense looks fine. They do need some O-line pressure, but the thing is, dude, I don't really think that their defense is like set in stone. I think they could go multiple different ways here, but you know, I need to protect my man Tom,
Mm-hmm.
so I'm gonna take Becton.
Yep, I like the pick. I
Okay.
think that's
It's a bodyguard right there.
Mhm. And you know, Tom Brady's old, man. He can't be getting sacked. So we
I
gotta
think that's a fair and completely reasonable and justifiable pick. They need offensive line help, and Mekhi Becton, he was great at Louisville. He's got the size, no doubt about that, and
6'7",
he's just
64. 7 foot
he's a presence on the field. I'll leave it at that.
Are you saying he's
I'm
fat?
with you. So
I'm saying he's thick.
Okay. Denver Broncos.
Denver Broncos. I was actually looking to draft Becton here. They could use some line help. Here's the thing, though.
Broncos could use a
I
lot.
don't think it's – I like Andrew Thomas as the fourth tackle here. I think it may be a little early to take him. And supposedly the Broncos wanted to trade up into the top 10 to get Jerry Jeudy, but I don't think they're actually going to do that. I think it's a smokescreen. And again, I think it's a little too early to take one of the other receivers like Justin Jefferson or T. Higgins. So I'm actually going to stay put, and I'm going to take C.J. Henderson, the cornerback from Florida. They just let what's his name, Chris Harris Jr. walk. He signed with the Chargers, so they could use some help in the defensive backfield. Henderson is 6'1", 204, so he can help in the run game a little bit. He's got good size. He's a good athlete. He's good at reading the quarterback size, and he likes to jump routes. So he's pretty explosive. I like Henderson, solid corner, and he fits kind of what the Broncos need. Again, wide receiver or lineman could be good here, but I just think Henderson, you know, is kind of like the second best corner in the draft, whereas if they're taking a receiver or lineman, they're getting maybe their fourth pick at that position. So I'd go corner here.
Yeah, I think that's really reasonable. You know, when you look at someone like C.J. Henderson, he was a playmaker, and that's something that the Broncos are really lacking right now.
Mm-hmm.
And especially on the defensive side of the ball, which is so weird. Other than Von Miller, like name 3 other Broncos defenders. You can, unless you're a Broncos fan. And so I think a name like C.J. Henderson, he's a proven coverage corner. He reads what the offense is doing very well, and he makes plays. He's got it in his DNA. So I really like the pick there for the Broncos.
Mm-hmm.
Clutch.
All right, I'm on the clock with the Falcons, and this is a pick that I actually kind of got screwed over a little bit on by Scotty when he chose. I was gonna pick Javon Kinlaw here.
Okay.
I wasn't expecting that you'd have the Jags taking Kinlaw, but I was expecting Javon Kinlaw here. But I think if they were to have a backup plan, they got rid of Vic Beasley, right?
Yeah.
Someone in this draft who reminds me sort of Vic Beasley, a little bit bigger, more of a true D lineman, is Yetur Gross-Matos.
Oh,
And so,
really?
yeah. And so I could see the Falcons. Plus, they need help on that D line as it is.
Yeah.
I could see the Falcons taking Gross-Matos here. I don't think he's quite big enough to be an interior defensive lineman, which is what he's listed as for some reason. So I think if you slot him in right at that defensive end spot, I think it looks really good for the Falcons.
Yeah.
Well, Fletch, you took my pick. Dallas wanted Yetur Gross-Matos. Now, I'm not sure where to go because Dallas needs a lot of help, just period. Bro, they should be so much better than they actually are.
Oh, man. What, with the Dak attack?
Bro,
Oh,
Dak,
man.
don't even get me started on Dak, bro. I'm sorry, Clark, if you're watching this, but Dak is not good.
Dak's
Whoa. Dak isn't even on Dak hasn't signed a new contract yet, dog. Dak's gonna hold out. Y'all realize
That's
that,
true.
right?
Dak could
They need to
hold
go
out.
play. They should take Jordan Love.
I know.
They shouldn't take Jordan Love. Jordan Love's a bust.
Bro, I'm not taking him. But I also don't think they really need a receiver because they did get Amari Cooper back, didn't they?
People are mocking them a receiver. I think that's a little greedy for Dallas. I mean, Michael
Yeah.
Gallup went for 1,000 yards,
really
and Amari
greedy.
Cooper just re-signed. So
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like the Cowboys' biggest need is in the secondary.
Yeah, but the thing is, there's not a lot of good secondaries here except like.
plus Byron Jones just left.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
Could go Jalen Johnson, Utah.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking, but I just can't see the Cowboys like going down that low on the draft board.
I mean, Jalen Johnson has a lot of good traits. He's just going to be a little bit of a project.
Another man to think about, Chuck, is AJ Espinoza, the defensive end for Iowa. You know, he's listed a little bit lower, but he's projected to probably go in the first round.
Oh, yeah. He should be a first-round pick. If it's not the Cowboys, it'll be someone else.
Yeah. Yeah, I think I'm just gonna go with Jalen Johnson, bro.
Jalen Johnson.
Yeah.
I think
that's an all right pick for the Cowboys.
Yeah, Fletch, I do agree with you that they do need help in their secondary. So.
Yeah.
They just need help, bro.
They just need
They
help.
just need someone to come in and shake things up.
All right. So
am I on the clock for Miami now?
Yes,
you are now on the clock for Miami.
So I'm a little torn here because Chason, the linebacker from LSU, has really fallen now. I thought you were going to take him 16, Fletch, for the Falcons. And,
yeah, I did too. That's why I wanted to cheer, bro.
Yeah, but I just don't think I can take him for the Dolphins because I'm going to take Andrew Thomas, the tackle from Georgia. I think they got to protect Tua. They got to make sure that this kid stays safe and healthy, especially with his injury history. Get yourself a tackle, solidify that offensive line, and protect your franchise quarterback that you took earlier in this draft. So I'm taking Andrew Thomas from Georgia, 18th overall to the Fins.
Okay.
That's the exact pick I would have made. They just got their quarterback of the future. Now they need to protect him. So getting someone like Andrew Thomas is a really solid selection.
Absolutely. Fletch.
All right, the Raiders.
Gonna take a second wideout.
Yeah, no, they're not gonna take a second wideout here. They already got Henry Ruggs. He's a speedster. He's a playmaker. He's gonna look good in the Raiders offense. You know, potentially with Marcus Mariota. I want.
Shut up.
But all jokes aside, they do need some help in their secondary, and or on either of their lines. So, it's really a tough pick to make here because I don't see any true premier cornerbacks at this point that would be worth taking at 19. There are names like Xavier McKinney that pop up during this pick that I could see being made.
Yeah.
But overall, this pick is sort of a question mark for me. But what I would do if I were the Raiders with this draft going so far is I would look for help in the secondary, and I would take Xavier McKinney.
Mm-hmm.
So you're taking Xavier McKinney?
Yeah, I'm taking Xavier McKinney. He was really good at Alabama. He was just solid. He was never a liability while on the field. And I really like his game. He's got good size for a safety too at 6'201". I don't really think you can go wrong with Xavier McKinney. It may not be worth the 19th overall pick now, but I can see him being a really good safety in the NFL.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Jacksonville. Okay. So this is where I think we get our first running back in the draft.
Chuck, no.
Chuck, we know you want your boy
They are
JT.
shopping me for that. Dude, I'm not gonna take JT. I'm gonna be. I'm thinking DeAndre.
You're not taking Jonathan Taylor?
Jonathan Taylor should be the first back taken off the board.
I
This is
understand
still
that,
just too high for
I'm
them.
trying not to be biased, but at the same time, as Scotty was talking about, Jacksonville's just falling apart, and they need a whole bunch of things, and that's why it's very confusing for me to come into this and try and take a player that they could possibly. You know what? Screw it. Where is he? Let's go, baby.
They could take Taylor. They could very well
take J.
especially if they trade Leonard Fournette, which is looking like it's going to happen. Because my boy Leonard Fournette, he made a big mistake. He said he suggested the Jaguars bring in Cam Newton. He said, listen, I love Gardy, my boy Minshew Mania, but the truth is we're trying to win football games. We just want the best players we can on the team. Cam's a great guy. Let's bring him in. Just have more good players. Jaguars front office said, what? What? You question Gardner? You're out. You're gone off the team.
You want a former
trade,
NFL MVP? You want a former NFL MVP on our team? How dare you?
No, Gardner. Okay, you're done.
G. Minshew.
Anyway, so pick 21 is the Philadelphia Eagles, right? And I'm on the clock.
Yes, you are.
Yes.
This team could use some O-linemen after, what's his name, their longtime tackle Jason Peters retired. And they have some needs in the secondary too. But since they traded for Darius Slay, I'm going to keep it easy on the corners, and I'm going to take a wide receiver, which is what they really need to help out Carson Wentz. Last year, they had so many injuries. They were down to, what's his name? They had that former quarterback from Houston catching, like Greg Ward, catching as their leading receiver. And he was like an undrafted player. They were just a mess. But the thing is, Deshaun Jackson is coming back for another year. So he's a speed demon. And I think they still have Alshon Jeffrey, even though they let Nelson Aguilar walk. So I'm going to go T. Higgins, the tall wide receiver from Clemson. He's 6'4", he's physical, he's clutch, he's just a playmaker. 20% of his catches at Clemson were touchdowns. He's a pretty solid route runner, but his big thing to me is possession catches. He's a great red zone target for him too. He can go up, make big plays over, smaller corners. He's 6'4". He can just pluck the ball away on aggressive, possession catches. So that's why I went T. Higgins.
I think that's, but for me, it was between T. Higgins and Justin Jefferson. Personally, I like T. Higgins a little bit more, but I could see the Eagles going either way. T. Higgins, he was very productive while on the field at Clemson. Obviously, he had good quarterbacks with him for his career, but nonetheless, very productive. And when looking at someone like T. Higgins, you just can't help but see him and be like, wow, that's the guy I want on the team. He's got some great physical attributes. He's tall. He can box out defenders and pluck that ball right out of the sky, which he did many a time in college. Anyways, I'm on the clock now. I got the Minnesota Vikings, another team who's looking for a wide receiver ever since Stephon Diggs up and went to Buffalo.
There's talks actually. There's talks actually that they're going to trade for Odell Beckham Jr. who wants to leave. But
they're not going to trade for Odell. They're not going to trade for Odell. Cleveland doesn't want to give up Odell.
Mm-hmm.
Even though Odell probably wants out right now, Cleveland's not going to give up Odell, especially for a pick around 22. That's not going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so I see the Vikings going receiver here, and I don't think Laviska Shenault is good enough, especially with the injury concern.
Yeah.
And any other receiver not named Justin Jefferson is just not appealing at this pick.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm picking
No!
Justin Jefferson.
No, you did it again! Dude! My Pats aren't gonna get Justin Jefferson.
No, they're not.
Well, don't worry, Chuck, because the Pats have plenty of other needs.
Like quarterback.
Shut up.
Chuck,
Fine. Do like that, bro. Do
there's
like
still a guy on the board who's at a position that you guys need, who has a very high grade.
that. Yeah, I know.
Could take him.
I know, but like, we have so many problems.
Chuck's breaking down. He's getting emotional. He's getting emotional.
Bro, Brady left us, and I want a tank to get Trevor Lawrence, bro. So that's why I think we need receiver here.
Mhm.
We get this guy in the league for 1 year, but I really wanted Justin Jefferson, and I don't feel confident. And oh my God, bro, what happened? The Pats were so good.
The Pats dynasty fell apart. That's what happened.
I do think I'm just gonna take Justin, bro.
Yeah,
That's a good
I
pick.
mean, that's a really good pick. He has fallen so far in this mock.
He fell pretty far.
He fell. However, I'm still not exactly sure that he's going to be as good as he's chalked up to be right now.
Mhm.
But he's still got raw talent. He's got a lot of talent. You can't deny that K'Lavon Chaisson's talent is definitely there, and it's present whenever he's on the football field, at least at a college level. I was just a little skeptical because I wasn't sure his game was going to convert to the pro level, but I could definitely see him working out, especially in a Patriots uniform for a coach as good as Bill Belichick.
Absolutely.
And Chuck, at this rate, man, the Pats could very well get a Jalen Hurts, Jordan Love type guy in the second round,
That's what I
or
was
maybe
thinking.
next year get a quarterback. So
Yeah.
We miss you, Tom.
all right, so am I on the clock for the Saints? Pick 24?
Yeah, you're with the Saints.
So, like I was just talking about, Jordan Love is an intriguing prospect here. You know, the Saints have a ton of talent already. Maybe you just take Love, sit him behind Drew Brees for a year or two, let him develop, and then have him be your go-to guy. Because Love has a ton of potential, but he's raw, and the Saints have a ton of talent. But at the same time, I think they're in win-now mode. I think they believe in Brees and maybe Taysom Hill to be a successor afterwards.
Dude, yeah, I was
So-
going to say,
That's
like,
what I was
Taysom
thinking,
Hill.
like, Hill
Yeah.
Taysom Hill's insane, man. No, I'm just playing. Taysom Hill's kind of a bum. Look at his passing stats.
Hey, you know
And
what?
that's why he's behind Brees.
Taysom Hill's a pimp, but that's a matter for another day. We're going with Patrick Queen, the linebacker from LSU. For me,
That's
Queen,
a good pick.
yeah, you know, he had big games against Georgia, Oklahoma, Clemson. You know, he showed up in big moments. He can kind of step in once Demario Davis kind of phases out because he's getting up there in age, and he had a really good season last year. But they're going to need, you know, another guy to kind of move in with him, take some minutes away from Alex Anzalone. To me, he's kind of a sideline-to-sideline guy who can just thump up and down the field, make plays, tackle guys. He's versatile. He reminds me a little bit of Bobby Wagner, just obviously not quite as good, but, you know, he's laterally quick, so I like Patrick Queen.
Okay.
All right, so I guess that puts me on the clock for the Vikings
Mhm.
once more. Here, they're not going to be taking another wide receiver. There's definitely not another wide receiver worth taking here right after you just pick Justin Jefferson. Their other biggest need is in the secondary, considering their number one corner is a bum and still made it to the Pro Bowl somehow.
Xavier Rhodes made the Pro Bowl?
Yeah, he made the Pro Bowl.
What?
Yeah,
He was terrible.
he was in the Pro Bowl.
Well, they've got good safety.
Yeah, they've got good safeties, which is why I'm saying they need a cornerback here.
Mm.
However, I'm just not too hyped about like Jeff Gladney. Like he's a good cornerback, but to me he's more second rounder ish. I could see
Like
them
Trayvon
taking
Diggs.
Yeah, I could see them taking Trayvon Diggs here at corner, especially coming out of Alabama. He's already played against elite talents at wide receiver from the SEC. And so also he's got good size and athleticism. He can win 50-50 balls from
So, see the pick? Oh, boy.
Chuck.
Fletch?
Chuck,
Yes. Hello.
are you
My Wi-Fi
go live?
It's bad. Bro,
This is why we need to do it in person.
yeah, but you know.
So who'd you end up picking, Fletch? Trayvon Diggs?
Trayvon Diggs.
Yeah, okay.
Cool.
That's what I thought.
Chuck, are you next for the Fins?
Miami.
They have another very distinct need.
Yeah. I think DeAndre Swift is their pick, bro.
You could go Swift. Yeah, that's a solid pick.
But yeah, I think it's Swift. I think
Mhm.
you just need a new look offense for Miami, and you get Tua, you get Swift.
Yep, and plus Swift's a pretty good pass catcher, and they already have Jordan Howard as kind of a power back.
Yeah,
Yeah. Okay, it's Swift.
I like that. I like that.
Seattle.
I'm on the clock for Seattle, right?
Yep.
I think Seattle needs a pass rushing threat to fill in the hole that Jadeveon Clowney left. I don't know if he's coming back, leaving. I don't know what's going on there. He's still technically a free agent. He hasn't been offered the money that he wants. But assuming that he leaves Seattle, which is the way that it's trending, I think they're going to take A.J. Espinoza, the defensive lineman. You know, to me, he's more of a defensive end they can put him at from Iowa. He's a big, physical defensive end. He played against some of the top linemen in the Big Ten. And I think he's just a really good prospect, especially since the Seahawks don't really have a ton of holes. And I think defensive end is probably one of their biggest ones. They need more pass rush. Even when Jadeveon Clowney was healthy last year, he did kind of underperform a little as a pass rusher. And they shipped out Frank Clark the year before that, so they need a guy who can bring in some sacks, pressure the other team's quarterback. He's really got a ton of great size. He's 6'5", 275. He's powerful. He's just a good edge rusher for me, so that's why I took Espinoza for the Seahawks.
Seahawks.
That's a good pick.
Baltimore,
The Ravens. So they can really go a few ways here. They can get, they could reach a little bit for an offensive lineman like Cesar Ruiz, or they could go with a linebacker like Zach Bond from Wisconsin.
Mm-hmm.
For me, their biggest need is I don't think they need any help on offense. Their offense was, it's comparable to the Kansas City Chiefs in terms of production.
Maybe a receiver, but yeah.
They could use maybe a receiver, but at this point, I still don't like any receivers. I feel like the rest are maybe second-round picks. You could reach for one, but I still don't see it. For me, I have them going linebacker. I do have them going with the aforementioned Zach Bond out of Wisconsin. He's got a very good high motor, and what you're looking for in a linebacker is someone who's got a really good high motor, and he's definitely willing to put in the work. And he may not be the best linebacker on the depth chart right away, but if you give him a year or two, I think I see Zach Bond panning out to be a really good linebacker in the NFL.
All right, it's me with Tennessee.
Yep.
Okay. Dude, to be honest with you, I don't really pay attention to Tennessee at all.
Well, they just lost.
Stop. I know.
No, I wasn't gonna say they beat the Patriots. I was just gonna say they just lost their premier piece on their defensive line in Jarrell Casey.
Yeah.
And so they do need defensive line help pretty badly.
All right. Well, this guy's a defensive lineman, Ross.
Ross Blacklock. I actually love that pick. He's the guy who I would have picked, Chuck.
Yep. That's exactly what I was trying to allude to. He's the perfect pick for Tennessee in that situation with this big board. He's a similar build to Jarrell Casey and
Big guy,
sort of
but
has
super athletic.
a similar game. So I like that pick a lot, Chuck.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. I made it myself.
All right, Scotty,
All
you're
right.
on the clock.
So I'm on the clock for the Green Bay Packers at pick 30. Now I'm kind of torn here because I want to take a receiver, and I like Brandon Ayuk and I like Denzel Mims. But at the same time, Devontae Adams has really come into his own as one of the premier receivers in the league. And they've got some solid young options, between Marquez Valdez-Scantling and all these other guys. So, Equanimous St. Brown. I think some of them have some potential. So I'm actually going to go in a different direction that might surprise some of you guys. Even though this team made it to the NFC Championship game last year, I just don't know if they're actually as good as they seemed. They didn't beat very many good teams last year, and they got blown out by the Niners both times they played them. So I'm going to draft the heir apparent to Aaron Rodgers. I'm going to take Jordan Love at pick 30, who's still on the board, kind of surprisingly. Just the same way that Aaron Rodgers fell to pick 25 in 2005 and sat behind Brett Favre for 3 years. They can do the same thing with Jordan Love, have him sit behind Aaron Rodgers, make him the new Aaron Rodgers. He's got that type of arm talent, which is transcendent. He's a little rough around the edges, but, he's a scrambler and he can throw it like a cannon. So I think that's, he's very similar to Aaron Rodgers, actually, when you think about it in terms of his ceiling. So I like the pick here. I think they can mentor him. And I think Matt LaFleur has, they showed that he was a pretty good developer of quarterbacks. He was working with Jared Goff, who's suddenly fallen off completely. Even though they could go receiver here, I think the Packers are going to take their heir apparent, take Jordan Love.
You know what, Scotty, generally I agree with you. And generally you and I see eye to eye, but there's going to be other quarterbacks in years to come that are going to be better fits for Green Bay than Jordan Love, in my opinion. Jordan Love, I look at it. Sure, he's got arm talent, but what's arm talent when you throw 16 interceptions in the Mountain West Conference?
I feel you. But you look at a guy like Josh Allen, who was low completion percentage, and he's been solid. I think the thing is, Jordan Love had a phenomenal year the season before, and this past year he lost all of his weapons. He lost his top receiver, his running back, his best O-lineman, and he had to switch to a new system with a new head coach. I think he's still got the potential, and I think, if he's still available at 30, somebody has to take him.
That's fair. That's all fair. All right. So I guess that puts me at pick 31 for the San Fran 49ers. Scott, I love this team. So we've already kicked off the start of the revenge tour by taking Jerry Jeudy. Now we're going to really get things rolling. We're going to get the safety that we know the San Francisco 49ers need. I'm going to pick Grant Delpit here out of LSU.
LSU. Over Winfield.
Yep. Yes, over Winfield from Minnesota. I don't think Winfield has enough experience in big games. And when he did play in a big game, like the bowl game, his performance was subpar. He was still good. He wasn't a liability by any means, but he wasn't elite. You look at someone like Grant Delpit, he was making plays in the SEC championship game, the semifinal, and in the college football championship. So I think you look at Grant Delpit for a team like the 49ers, who's likely going to be making another run into the playoffs this year, as long as they don't fall victim to the Super Bowl hangover. You're looking for someone who can come in and make an impact right away. I think that's Grant Delpit out of LSU.
Yeah.
And that leaves me.
Chuck,
yes, it does.
Kansas City Chiefs, reigning Super Bowl champs. Oh, I'm on safety right now. Okay. Kansas City Chiefs. I think they need help in their secondary, even though they did just win the Super Bowl, even though they did just show up Jimmy Garoppolo. I think that their offense is fine. Young. I don't think they need anyone there. I think Jeff Gladney from TCU is a promising pick. AJ Terrell is also a good pick from Clemson.
I like Terrell a little bit more.
Me too.
I think I do too, because he did play in the ACC. Yeah, I think I will go Terrell with my last pick.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I like it. Good decision.
I like it. That's
Okay.
a good pick. With the Chiefs, it's it's really hard to figure out what they're going to be doing at their pick. They can go a lot of different ways. Like you said, they need help in the secondary, but they could also use a real running back one, which is on the board with people like J.K. Dobbins, really just J.K. Dobbins. I'm not sure Clyde Edwards-Helaire is really good enough to be a running back one. He just seems like, he might not have the size to do it. He runs hard, but he's not quite there. J.K. Dobbins is a pick I really like for the Chiefs, but I also really like them going with A.J. Terrell, and I could feasibly see them going Jeff Gladney.
A report actually this morning that the Chiefs are interested in trading up to get Henry Ruggs III into the
pair him with Tyreek.
Incredible, because then they would have Tyreek, Henry Ruggs, and Mecole Hardman, who are all like 4.25 speed.
That's
That'd be ridiculous.
That's absolutely
I think
terrifying.
It's just great. Yeah, I mean,
yeah. Okay. So
that's absolutely terrifying.
all right, guys. Well, that's our mock draft. How do you take us out?
Who take us out? Scotty?
Scotty.
All right, fellas. So
Scotty, take us out.
Okay. Thanks for watching, folks. I'm your host, Scott Caverts, with Fletcher Ferris and Charlie Owens, acting as NFL GMs. As always, thanks for watching. Tell us what you think in the comment section below. If you guys like this vid, do you want to see more vids like it? Whose picks did you agree with the most? Whose picks did you think were ridiculous? Do you feel bad for Charlie because the Patriots are collapsing? Just let us know. And thank you. We're your hosts, Scott Caverts, Fletcher Ferris, Charlie Owens. This has been The Last Word.